Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavahai Tejasvinavaditamastu Mavit Vishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We'll chant Srimad Bhagavad Gita, chapter 2, verses 54 to 58.
Arjuna uvacha स्थितप्रज्ञस्य का भाषा समाधिस्तस्य केशव स्थितधीं किं प्रभाषेत किमासीत व्रजेत किम् श्रीभगवानुवाच प्रजहाति यदा कामान् सर्वान् पार्थमनोगतान् आत्मन्येवात्मना तुष्टः स्थितप्रज्ञस्तदोच्यते दुःखेष्वनुद्विग्नमनाः सुखेषु विगतस्पृहः वीतरागभयक्रोधः स्थितधीर्मुनिरुच्यते यः सर्वत्रानभिस्नेहः तत्तत्प्राप्य शुभाशुभम् नाभिनन्दति न द्वेष्टि तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता यदा संहरते चायं कूर्मोऽङ्गानीव सर्वशः इन्द्रियाणीन्द्रियार्थेभ्यः तस्य प्रज्ञा प्रतिष्ठिता.
This portion that we will start today from shloka number 54 till the end of this chapter 72 shloka tak, this portion is called Sthita Prajna portion, or description of a perfect human being, or we can also call it as a profile of a perfect human being. Now, so far the thought flow in this chapter has been, after Arjuna surrendered and became a student, Shri Krishna gave the highest knowledge. He explained Atma, Anatma, Viveka. What is Atma, your real self, and what is Anatma, the false self, or the fake ego. So the difference between Atma, Anatma was explained, and with this knowledge, he was advised to act. Arjuna was advised to act with this knowledge. You must act in this world using this knowledge. You must do your duty. Looking at your duty point of view, you are a Kshatriya. So you must proceed and fight the battle with this knowledge. So when you do it with this knowledge, what happens is the actions do not incur further vasanas. So you will be acting, getting the result, but at the same time dissolving vasanas. So if you do not do your duty in this spirit, then what you will be doing is acting propelled by your desires. Now that will increase your desires and also will agitate you. Also, the agitation may become an hindrance in you achieving the results. So therefore, you should act in the spirit of karma yoga. So shloka number 45 till 53 that we saw, he explains and says, you must act in the spirit of karma yoga. Karmani eva adhikaraha ma phaleshu kadachana ma karma phala heturboho mate sangosva karmani. In that shloka, we took, I think one class or two classes to elaborately discuss what he's trying to say is dedicate your actions for a higher purpose, higher goal, something beyond your selfish, self-centered interest. Then, having dedicated that, not thinking about the immediate results that may accrue, which may be in the interest of you, you don't think about all that. You focus on the higher goal, directing all your actions in that direction. Then, whatever comes as a result, accept it as prasad. So then what will happen is you will have a very tranquil, calm, peace, serene mind. So he said, Samatvam Yogam Uchyate. That kind of balance that you achieve mentally through such activity called Karma Yoga is what is called Samatvam or real yoga. And when you are in such a state, what will happen is you are also exhausting the vasanas while you are fulfilling the desires. So you are materially benefiting as well as spiritually evolving. Hence, he calls that as skill. He says, Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam. So, in 48th shloka, he says, Samatvam Yoga Muchyate. In 50th shloka, he says, Yoga Karmasu Kaushalam. Skill in action is yoga. Skill in the sense, you act also, you dissolve the vasanas also. That is called skill. So, you evolve spiritually, at the same time, you benefit materially in this world. And then from 51 to 53, the last three shlokas of the previous topic, he very clearly said, thus through Karma Yoga, you attain Chitta Shuddhi. And when you attain Chitta Shuddhi, your mind has lost the value or the exaggerated value it has placed upon the world. It has lost the exaggerated value. Now it understands what world can offer, what world cannot offer. What I am looking for is not what really what world can offer. What I am looking for is something beyond. But at the same time, for my transactional purpose, I need to deal with the worldly objects and beings, objects, emotions, perceptions, thoughts, all these things I need to deal with. I will deal with it objectively. So through Karma Yoga, you attain Chitta Shuddhi, dealing with the world only for the transactional purpose, but you have now become more and more interested in the attainment of the self. So you have got what is called as Jnana Yogyata. You are now qualified for Jnanam. Or whatever Jnanam you got before will now start making more sense for you. You will be able to deeply reflect upon them more and more. And then through Jnanam, you attain moksha. When you attain moksha, the individuality completely merges with the total. You become self-realized. This is what he said so far. Everybody, knowingly or unknowingly, only courting moksha, only courting liberation. Everyone essentially is divine. Everyone is essentially infinite happiness. But they do not know that today. So they are believing that this world can bring happiness. The objects and beings of this world can bring them that happiness that they are looking for, which they are looking for actually is uninterrupted, unintercepted happiness. Uninterrupted, unintercepted bliss. But are they going to get that through this? They don't know. Therefore, they are running. But with the knowledge and the sadhana, they understand that what they are looking for cannot be got from the world. And their attention starts shifting towards the higher. And then they put in sadhana in that direction and they achieve liberation. So now when he spoke about all this, now Arjuna gets a curiosity. Arjuna wants to know what is that state of a perfect human being? What is that state? Do you think there has been somebody who has achieved it? Or even if somebody has achieved it, what could be the characteristics of that person? What will happen to me when I get there? See, when everyone is aspiring to get somewhere, like I would like to be a very famous, cricketer. I want to be not just cricketer, but want to be a very famous cricketer. I want to be a very famous actor. Supposing you say that, I must be busy signing autographs all the time. I must be such a celebrity, not just an actor. Supposing you have such an idea, but you really do not know. You from here, it looks like their life is all excellent and beautiful. No, but having become that, then you say, "Arey, my privacy is gone. This is not what I really wanted." Such a situation is possible, no? You may aspire for it, seeing it from distance, but when you actually become such a celebrity, you may say, "Arey, yaar, I would like to be like before. I want to, happily roam around in my locality. Now I'm not able to do anything of such things." So when I aspire for something, I should know, yes, this is what I want. So some understanding I should have about where I want to get in life. So if liberation is what all of us are seeking, and if this is true liberation, what is that state? I would like to understand that. So Arjuna is asking that question in shloka number 54. And then from 55 till 72, Sri Krishna paints a beautiful picture of a perfect human being. Now, the beauty here is Arjuna has asked the question in one shloka, 54, and in 55, 56, 57, Sri Krishna has answered, or 58, 56, sorry, 55, 56, 57, 58. In these four shlokas, Sri Krishna has answered the questions of Arjuna. But he continues. Why? Because when Arjuna is asking, please explain the profile of a perfect human being, what he is asking indirectly is also tell me how to get there. So what could be the sadhana? You understand? So Sri Krishna wants to elaborate further from 59 to 72 about what you need to do to get there. What will happen to you when you don't do that? It's a very thorough analysis. First, he describes, okay, you ask these four questions, I'm answering these four questions. 55, 56, 57, 58, he answers. Then 59 to 72, he continues painting so that we can draw inspiration from that and start following those things to get there. And he also cautions what will happen to you when you don't follow that. You understand? So, all that he explains, what is the phalam of such sadhana? What happens to you when you don't act in that way? Very clearly, he explains everything from this portion 54 to 72. So when we do 5-day lecture series or 4-day lecture series in a particular city, sometimes we start the Gita from chapter 2a. That is what we have covered so far, 11 to 53. Sometimes we start from this Sthita Prajna only. So when we start from Sthita Prajna on 4 days lecture, what has been discussed till 53 shloka of chapter 2, we give it as a summary in the introduction. Then we start the lecture of Gita in every city with Sthita Prajna, profile of a perfect human being. So it's a very beautiful, portion in the entire Gita. And the more you start understanding and admiring it, probably you'll be inspired to get there. So therefore, with this kind of a understanding, let's get on to this portion, Sthita Prajna. Verse number 54, we shall chant together.
Arjuna uvacha sthita prajnasya ka bhasha samadhistasya keshava sthitadim kim prabhasheta kimasita vrajeta kim.
Arjuna Vacha. Vacha means said. Arjuna Vacha means Arjuna said. See, remember, Bhagavad Gita is a conversation between Sri Krishna and Arjuna. Arjuna the disciple, Sri Krishna the Guru. It is samvada. So when this discussion is going on, if we just read the shloka, sometimes we may miss as to who is speaking. Understand? So every now and then it is given Arjuna Vacha, Sri Bhagavan Vacha, Parasno. Only one place. In the very beginning of the Gita, he says Dhritarashtra Vacha. So a lot of people think Bhagavad Gita starts with the word name Dhritarashtra. Bhagavad Gita does not start with the name Dhritarashtra. Please understand. It is for us to understand. They have put it as Dhritarashtra Uvacha. Dhritarashtra said. What is the word with which Bhagavad Gita actually begins? Dharma kshetre kurukshetre samaveta yuyutsavaha mamaka pandavaschaiva kimakurvata sanjaya. So what does it start with? Dharma. Whenever you start something, the beginning should be shubh. Something good. Not start with something negative. Always start something with positive. In fact, it will be better if you start something with spiritual rather than just positive. You understand? So, when Sri Krishna's Samvada with Arjuna is presented by sage Vyasa in this format that we have got as Bhagavad Gita, the very first word he uses is Dharma. Dharma kshetre kurukshetre. So, therefore, when he says, Arjuna Uvacha, Arjuna said. What did he say? He's asking a question to Sri Krishna. Sthita prajnasya ka bhasha. What is the description of one of steady wisdom? Samadhistasya Keshava. Merged in superconscious state. What is the description of one of steady wisdom? Merged in the superconscious state, O Keshava. And then Sthitadi Kim Prabhasheta. How does one of steady wisdom speak? Kim Prabhasheta. Kim Asita. How does he sit? Vrajeta Kim. How does he walk? We just read the translation. Sthita Prajnasya Khabhasha. What is he asking? What is the description of a perfect human being? Sthita Prajnaha. It's a very interesting word or name Arjuna uses. Nyaha means Jnanati iti Nyaha. Means one who knows about what? About Atma. About oneself. Understand? Nyaha means one who knows about Atma. Prajnaha means prakrakshena jnanam. Means that jnanam is very deep. It's not just superficial understanding. One who knows very well. It's called prajnaha. Sthita prajnaha means one who knows about Atma steadily in all contexts, always. Means one who knows about himself 24/7, 365 days. Not just during the class time, between 11 and 12. And then the moment he or she steps out of the class, then they behave like normal. You understand? Then normal doesn't mean Siddha Prajna is abnormal. Not in that sense. Like before, that's what I meant. So, when he says Sthita Prajnaha means one of steady wisdom, whose wisdom is established. You understand? Thereafter, whatever happens, that wisdom doesn't leave him. So it's not a knowledge that is borrowed. It is original. It is not just information, but transformation. That is what he's trying to explain by the word Sthita Prajnaha. What is the characteristics or description of a Sthita Prajna? Ka Bhasha. You understand? How do I understand about who is realized, who is not realized? There must be some traits, no? Some characteristics. I would like to know that, he says. Then, Samadhistasya Keshava. O Keshava refers to Sri Krishna. O Krishna, Samadhistasya means the characteristics of a person who is reached that absolute tranquil state called Samadhi. It also refers to self-realization only. Right? So, he uses Sthita Prajnaha, Samadhistaha, then Sthita Dihi. Dihi means Buddhi, whose Buddhi is steadily established in reality. So, when he says Sthita Prajnaha, he's talking about man of steady wisdom. Samadhistaha means whose mind is established in the Atman. And Sthitadihi means whose intellect is deeply rooted in the Atman. All three referring to the same person only. Right. So basically, first question is what? What is the description of a perfect human being? That's the first question. Then, such a person, Sthitadi, Kim Prabhasheta. How does he speak? Does he speak at all? You understand? If he speaks, does he speak? How does he speak? See, we contact this world through three ways. Three ways. What are they? Kayika, Vachika, Manasa. Kayika means through the body. Vachika means through the speech. And then Manasa means through the mind. Understand? So he is now asking about how does it speak. Then he says, Kim Asita. How does he sit? How does he sit means when he is by himself, when she is by herself, what is the inner state of that person's mind? Understand? Not, first one is general description. Then, how does that person express? And he says, Kim Prabhasheta. See, speak means not will he speak in English, will he speak in Tamil or Hindi. Not that. Expression. How does the person who's reached the perfection express oneself in this world? How does that person transact with the world? You understand? Then, Kim Asita. When that person is not transacting, when that person is by himself or herself, what is that person's inner state? How does he sit? It does not mean will he sit in a cross-legged position, or will he sit in Vajrasana, or will he keep his legs stretched out and sit? It's not that what he's asking. What he's asking is, what is his inner state of mind? You understand? How does he sit? And then he's saying, how does he walk? Kim Prabhasheta, Kim Asita, Vrajeta Kim. How does he walk? How does he walk in the sense? When any one of us contact the world offers sometimes positive things to us, good things to us, sometimes negative things to us. Isn't it? Shubha, Ashubha. Many things we face, and all this is according to our karma. You understand? Now, when we go through, when Shubha happens, we get excited. When Ashubha happens, we get dejected. How such a person handles all this? Also, when we discuss all this, we need to understand this certain important aspects about self-realization. See, when we say a person is self-realized, what we are saying is that person has gone beyond all vasanas. That person has gone beyond all vasanas. Remember, we are already we've been at having these classes for quite many months now. So all of you must be thorough with certain basics, which I've mentioned before. God plus vasanas equals human beings. Human beings minus vasanas equals God. God or self, whatever you want to use, you please use. So the whole life is consumed in exhausting vasanas. When a person achieves that state, a person has become free from all vasanas. Right? That is the state of perfection, vasanalessness. So God plus vasanas is equal to human beings. Human beings minus vasanas equals to God or self-realized person. Now, if all the vasanas are gone, how does a self-realized person function? Because the chronology of action, what did we study? We studied that from vasana comes thought. From thought comes desire. From desire comes action. Again, when we don't follow karma yoga, we just do it mechanically as karma, then actions will further produce vasanas. We do it as karma yoga, then it won't produce vasanas. All that we've studied. So, vasana, thought, desire, action. Now, if you have overcome the vasanas, then how there will be thoughts, how there will be desires, how there will be actions. So, will a selfless person act at all? If he or she is acting, how do they act? For that, we need to know little more. When we say vasanas, we have to understand three types of vasanas. One is sanchita vasana, other is prarabdha vasana, other is agami vasana. Sometimes they use it as sanchita karma, prarabdha karma, and agami karma. All same, don't get confused. Now, when you say sanchita, means total. See, this can be explained with an example. You have invested your money in your house and maybe 2-3 other properties and in fixed deposits, mutual funds, bonds, share market, etc. All put together is your total asset, your net worth, isn't it? So, sanchita is equal to your net worth vasanas. You understand? Or total vasanas. From those investments, 1 or 2 fixed deposits have matured today. So, of all the collected punya papa, of all the collected vasanas, some has matured. That matured ones have given rise to this birth for you to exhaust those punya papa. You understand? That one which helped you, which pushed you to take birth is called prarabdha karma or prarabdha vasana. Are you getting it? Now that you are born as a human being, if that prarabdha karma vasana happened to be pushing you to be taking birth as a human being, then having been born as a human being, now you have a capacity to exhaust your sanchita or add to your sanchita. Isn't it? We can either add more vasanas or we can exhaust all the sanchita vasanas. Prarabdha vasanas that propelled you to take birth, we say you have to necessarily go through that in experience and it will get exhausted. Whereas sanchita vasana can be exhausted through knowledge. Is this clear? Sanchita vasana can be exhausted through knowledge. Prarabdha vasana you will go through and exhaust it through experience. Now don't get into trying to find out what is sanchita, what is prarabdha in my life. You may not be successful in that. So let's not get into that. Okay? But having been born as a human being, you can exhaust the sanchita. But majority only increases. Okay. So the new vasanas that you create in this janma after having been born is called what? Agami. Agami vasanas or agami karma. You understand? Which will fructify in the due course. Is this clear? Sanchita, prarabdha, agami. Now when a person realizes what is he or she burning through knowledge, sanchita. The sanchita is completely burnt. Now when we say that sanchita is completely burnt, when a person is born, the person has something called as sanchita. But having been born, he might have added few vasanas to the sanchita in this janma, which we call as agami. But when he adds it and once it's added, it also becomes total. It also becomes sanchita. So when we say a person has exhausted all the vasanas, he is exhausted sanchita totally. For that person, there is no agami karma. Once he is realized, he is not going to create fresh vasanas. Is this clear? Once a person is liberated, thereafter is going to function consciously. That person is not going to create more vasanas. So sanchita is gone. He or she is not going to gain more vasanas. Then how does that person function? Purely out of prarabdha. Understand? Prarabdha of different masters are different. That's why Swami Ramtirtha, after realization, also continued lecturing. Saint Tyagaraya, after liberation, was singing the songs on Lord. You understand? Ramana Maharishi hardly spoke. Because each one's prarabdha is different. Therefore, everybody acts differently in this world. But when you act out of your prarabdha, when you are in the world, please understand, only you know how much you have evolved. You can, just for discussion sake, say that somebody who is evolved to your level or more than your level may understand you. Understand? But strictly speaking, where you are, at what level you are, can be understood only by you. Only you know that. Isn't it? So when you realize soul, you're walking on the road, doesn't mean everybody is going to come and salute you. You go back from this class, immediately everybody starts moving away, giving you way on the road. Arey, let him go, he's a realized soul. Nothing like that is going to happen. As per your prarabdha, you will also face what? Good and bad. Shubha, Ashubha. You understand? So in such situations, how does that person deal with it? That is what he's asking when he says, how does he walk? To explain that, we have to bring in all this so that it becomes very clear. See, if it's a 5-day lecture where you have to cover this entire portion from 52 to 72, all this we may not be able to go into elaboration. But we have this freedom when we are doing this as a weekly class. You understand? So, even a man of perfection or a woman of perfection, a human being who's attained perfection, will face all kinds of situations. You understand? Then, how is that person going to deal with it? So, what is the general description of a person who's reached the self? That's the first question. Ka bhasha. First question, ka bhasha. Kim prabhasheta. Second question, how does he speak? Kim asita. How does he sit? Third question. Fourth question is vrajeta kim. Kim vrajeta. How does he walk? That is the fourth question. So what is the general description of a perfect human being? How does a perfect human being express oneself? What is the inner state of a perfect human being? Then how does the perfect human being contact the external world? Is this clear? These are the 4 questions. Otherwise, you don't understand. What is this? How does he speak? How does he sit? How does he walk? So there are deeper meaning to what Arjuna is asking. A thorough explanation about the inner state, about the conduct, about expression, the characteristics. Arjuna wants to know. See, when we keep discussing about positive things at the conscious level, slowly we find that in our subconscious, we start developing value for it. You understand? Many a times, that's why they say children, for example, which is the highly impressionable age, when they are very small, their heroes are parents and teachers. Now, slowly, these comic characters and all these videos that they watch, games and all that, they also start becoming their heroes. You understand? So, in schools, we have had this called as fancy dress competition. No? Children go wearing, dressing up themselves as freedom fighters or police officers or, defense personalities, etc. Some people go like politician. You understand? So they dress up like somebody else and go, and then they compete there. So when they go through such things, subconsciously they start developing those traits in them. Or at least, if not traits, at least inspiration for such a thing. You understand? So when we discuss about Sthita Prajna in these shlokas, and we repeatedly think about those shlokas, we also start developing inspiration to go in that direction. That's the idea. So, Sthita Prajnasya Kha Bhasha, Samadhistasya Keshava, Sthitadi Kim Prabhasheta, Kim Asita Vrajeta Kim. Now, this question on a battlefield, you understand? On a battlefield, Arjuna is asking, when actually whatever knowledge Sri Krishna wants to give is already given. If you actually see what a person needs to know as far as the real Vedanta is concerned, from the highest point of view, has already been said from verse number 11 to 53. Now he's saying, please talk about man of perfection. So this is it a relevant question in the context? The relevant question in the context would be, Arey yaar, you've said all these things. Now you said I also must do my duty. Can you explain a little further? Maybe a little bit about karma yoga if he asked, it would be more relevant question. But that relevant question he comes only in the third chapter. Arjuna comes to that relevant question in the third chapter. He asks, Sri Krishna. Then only in the third chapter, karma yoga is discussed about action more in detail, right? But here, Arjuna, we can say, from one angle, when you look at the Gita, we can say that Arjuna is not fully woken up to the context. We can say so. Therefore, he is asking about Sthita Prajna. When you look at it from one angle. From another angle, when you see that the discussion has been about Sthita Prajna, why not ask about Sthita Prajna? When he said you will finally reach Sthita Prajna state, therefore he is asking. You get it? Now, another question that comes to people in this context very often is, the battlefield, everybody has blown the whistle, are about to start the war. At that time, Arjuna is asking this question. And Sri Krishna is going on giving shlokas. What were the other people doing? Isn't it? This question comes. What were the other people doing? They're all sitting and having ice cream or what? You understand? So then, the answer given to that is, obviously, this discussion was not happening the way it has happened, shloka after shloka. It was done at a subtle level. In fact, I don't know whether you've seen that photo of Dakshinamurti. Dakshinamurti, the Mauna Guru, they call him as Mauna Guru, is the avatar of Lord Shiva. Dakshinamurti. And he has students sitting in front of him. You would see that photo, Sanat Kumaras, they are sitting in front of him. And he just gives Chin Mudra, and with Chin Mudra and maintaining silence, he's communicated the knowledge. You understand? Always remember, if your surrender is deep, I repeat, if your surrender is deep, silence can communicate much deeper things to you. If your surrender is not that deep, that many words are required. Okay. Swamiji explained this in a very different way. See, when somebody is extremely disturbed mentally or distracted, not disturbed, let's say distracted. Why use the word disturbed? Distracted a lot. A person who's too much distracted in life needs variety and loud music. You understand? Now, for example, in today's context, you see, in the movies also, they spend a maximum in songs. Too many side characters coming and dancing along with the hero and heroine. And their clothes are changing every scene maybe. And they go to different locations, abroad and shoot. All kinds of things. But in the old movies, if you see, one place they are sitting hero, heroine, one full song is shot. Not much variety. What Swamiji says is, when there is too many desires and too much of distraction, you need variety and sound. You understand? But when the mind has become more and more calm, you don't need those many variety. Similarly, when a person is extremely evolved, the student, and if the surrender is very deep, then Maunam can communicate this knowledge. You understand? But when the person is not that surrendered, then a lot more needs to be said. Just to bring that person's mind to a level of listening itself, many things needs to be said. Just to get the fellow listening. You understand? So that's why you see in the Upanishads, the message is very cryptic, very terse, not elaborate. You understand? In the Upanishad, for example, if you take Ishavasya Upanishad, it has only 18 mantras. In 18 mantras, he's communicated the whole thing. The Ishavasya Upanishad. You understand? If you go to Kena Upanishad, in the first part of Kena Upanishad, totally 4 parts are there. In the first part of Kena Upanishad, there is only 9 mantras. In that 9 mantras also, in the very first 5 mantras is communicated. Already communicated, whatever he wants to communicate. So therefore, this transaction that happened between Arjuna and Sri Krishna and Arjuna, happened at a subtler level. To say that, I brought in Dakshinamurti and all that. So it happened at a very subtler level. Sri Krishna communicated to Arjuna. But what conspired between those two in deep silence as a result of Arjuna's Sharanagati, which happened in the 7th shloka, sage Vyasa has put it down in 18 chapters for our good. You understand? So it is not necessary that the conversation happened this way and everybody else were waiting there. See, in today's context also you see, some of the files, which are huge files, they put it and give it to you in a zip file. Isn't it? You double click those zip file and open, then huge amount of information. But when you get it, it's come in very small format. This is the explanation given for the communication that happened between Sri Krishna and Arjuna and what were the others doing. So it was not like, so many hours they were talking and others were waiting. So Arjuna is asking, well, who is the Sthita Prajna? Now Sri Krishna starts. First answer for the first question. What is the question that he is addressing in the next shloka? He is addressing that question, general description of a perfect human being.
Shri Bhagavanuvacha Prajahati yada kaman sarvan parthamanogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha stita prajnastadochyate.
Shri Bhagavan Vacha, the Blessed Lord said to Arjuna, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan atmanyevatmana tushtaha stita prajnas tadochyate. So Sri Krishna is using this yada tada construction here. When a particular condition is fulfilled, then it is said to be so. You understand? So first, that when has to be fulfilled. It's a condition that needs to be fulfilled. Only when this is fulfilled, then that will be called so. So what is that? He says, Prajahati. Prajahati means casting off, dropping. But when a person casts off, what? Kaman means desires. What kind of kaman? Sarvan kaman. Prajahati yada kaman sarvan. Partha, O Arjuna, manogatan. Manogatan means the kama is what? Where is it occupying? Belongs to where? The mind. You understand? Many times what happens is we blame the world for our agitations. Here he is very clearly saying the seat of the desire or desires is your mind. So from the mind, desires are of the mind. So from the mind, when the desires are cast away, you understand? When a person casts off all the desires of the mind, and Atmani eva Atmana Tushtaha, and is rejoicing in the self by the self. Atmani eva Atmana Tushtaha, rejoicing in the Atma, in the self, by the self. Then Sthita Prajnas Tadochyate. Then he is said to be a Sthita Prajnaha. What he is saying. So the Blessed Lord said, when one completely casts off, O Partha, all desires of the mind and is satisfied in the self by the self, then is one said to be of steady wisdom. So the same portion, Siddha Prajna, is nicely explained by Swamiji in one chapter in the Vedanta treatise. It comes in part B. The chapter is State of Self-Realization. There he talks about all these things. The whole book is in English only. There are no Sanskrit, nothing. Here and there he may quote, that's all. So there he explains. Same thing. A person who's gone beyond all desires, he explains by saying he is all powerful. We'll come to that point. So firstly, what he's trying to say, we must understand. When a person casts off all desires from where? From where? From the mind. You understand? What happens is, a lot of people think by pushing my desires inside, and not acting on my desires, I can reach perfection. No. Or by getting rid of the objects, going to a place where there are no objects, I can attain perfection. So first thing Sri Krishna wants to say here is that there is no possibility of attaining perfection that way. Because there is no such thing as perfection in the external world. Please understand this. You know, this a lot of conversations and incidents that happen between Birbal and Akbar is quoted, no, very often. So one such thing that we all know is when Akbar drew the line on a board and said, make it small without touching it. Birbal just simply drew another line, bigger than that. He drew one line and said, make it short without touching it. And what Birbal did do? He simply drew another line longer than that. Other one became short. So in other words, in the world, what you call as perfection from one angle will be short of perfection from another angle. See, our ashram, which is near Lonavala, in a village called Malavali, you all must visit. We've been doing it regularly, actually. Every year we used to go. But then due to Corona and all that, the whole thing got interrupted. Now we should start that tradition again. At least once, Just go there and do our sadhana, be with the Guru and all that. So our ashram is maintained very clean. We have everyday schedule for students to clean. And then on top of it, we also have campus cleanup. So when I said that we'll all go as a group, we'll inform them, no, we are coming from this date to this date and all that. So they know that there's a group coming, about 20 people coming or 30 people coming for those 5 days. So in between those 5 days, definitely there will be one day campus cleanup. Before you leave the campus, you'll be made to do the campus cleanup. Somewhere or the other, you will be doing work, which is fine. All of us willingly do that. So why I'm giving that example is, so much work goes on in keeping the ashram clean, right? And when I was studying, I had a co-sadhak by the name Andrew Oliver. He was from Australia. He's unfortunately no more now. He told me, they call me PLN in the ashram. They said, PLN, our ashram is actually not so clean compared to our Australian standards, he said. You come to Australia, if you go to even some common in a mall or somewhere to the toilets and all that, it will be much cleaner than this. So I still remember this whenever I talk about that what seems to be perfection from one angle is nothing compared to the other. You understand? It's short of perfection. So it's very relative in the world outside. So therefore, beautifully what Sri Krishna is doing is Perfection is not outside. What is happening in the world? We are all looking for perfection outside, isn't it? Somewhere as if it's in the Himalayas. Therefore, slowly now people are buying properties in all this Himachal and Uttarakhand, and then the local fellows will have to come up with rules that you cannot buy here, you cannot sell here, etc., etc. So, why all these things? Because you're looking for a place where there is perfection. Isn't it? Is there a place where there is perfection? So he doesn't say, udhar jao, upar jao, piche aa jao. He's not saying anything like that. He's just saying, prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. Atmaniyeva atmana tushtaha sthita prajnas tadochyate. He puts two conditions. What are the 2 points that he communicates here? First point is completely casting off the desire. But if you get stuck in the first point and don't go to the second point, you are not getting the complete message of Sri Krishna. You'll be quoting wrongly. A lot of people are quoting the philosophy like this, therefore many people run away from philosophy. They are completely casting off the desire. Highly impractical fellows. Understand? How will I be happy if I throw away all my desires? So he says, Prajahati yada kaman sarvan partha manogatan. Then that's the first one. Second line is Atmani eva atma tushtaha. One who is reveling in the self by the self. So what is saying? When these two conditions are fulfilled, only then are you called as self-realized. Many times what happens when something unwanted happens, like somebody loses the family members, very close family member, father, mother, sister, brother, children, they get so fed up. They say, I don't want anything. And they're not putting on an act. For the temporary period, they genuinely do not have any desires. But it's only temporary, isn't it? Now, in their case, only the first point is fulfilled. The second point is not fulfilled. No? They're not happy in the self by the self. So therefore, what he's saying, Atmaniyeva Atmana Tushtaha. That is very important. The Tushtaha means reveling. One should be happy and reveling within oneself by themselves. In modern context, can you just be with yourself even without mobile phone for 1 hour? You understand? We go somewhere alone, but we will have to have our mobile phones. We cannot go without our phone. Something or the other we are dependent on. So the perfection is not outside. Perfection is within you. So what is in between you and your perfection? The desires. Where are they? In your mind. So perfection is what then? Rising above your mind. Perfection is what then? Rising above your desires. Perfection has got nothing to do with conquering the outside world or not acquiring, not meeting people, not doing anything. It has got nothing to do with any of this. It is simply to do with rising above your desires and being happy by yourself, with yourself. Which means what? Absolutely not dependent on any objects or beings of the world for your happiness. So now this is another point. Oh, that means what? We should not desire. We should not contact the world. We should not keep the objects. No. You keep the world, everything. But are you dependent on it for your happiness? Or are you independent of it for your happiness? If your happiness depends on it, then you're not happy by yourself, with yourself. If these conditions are fulfilled, I will be happy. If these conditions are not fulfilled, I will not be happy. isn't it? So, therefore, with zero dependence, you can transact in the world. So, when he says perfection, he's talking about zero dependence on the external factors. When we say external factors, what are all included in the external factors? What are all included in the external factors? The material world, the physical body, the mind, the emotional solace, and the intellectual delights. The material world, right? And then the physical objects, emotional solace, and intellectual delights, and the spiritual conversations, spiritual books. None of this you should be dependent upon. In fact, in Ashtavakra Gita, there's another conversation that happens between sage Ashtavakra, who is the guru there, and the Sishya is King Janaka. That is very, very deep subject. Unless and until we complete Gita, Vedanta, and all that, understand, then only we should go there. Otherwise, we should not go there. In that Ashtavakra Gita, sage Ashtavakra says, in one chapter, 16, he says, when you reach that perfection, hmm, when you reach that perfection, even blinking of your eyes, no, winking, the uh, eye, eyelids go opening and closing. That seems to be burdensome for him. Now, when he talks about all that, he's talking from a very deep level. So he is absolutely happy by himself. He doesn't want to do anything, doesn't want not to do anything. That's the state he's talking about. The sense, not dependent on anything, including scriptures. Ashtavakra says, after reading all that, forget it, he says. In the 16th chapter, very first sloka, he will say, forget it. Forget whatever you read. Meaning what? You should not become dependent on your spiritual subjects as well. That kind of independence is called Siddha Prajna, he says. We'll elaborate this particular shloka in the next class furthermore. Let's conclude now. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnameva Vashishyate Om Shanti Shanti Shanti.